What are the steps involved in the treatment of IVF? Is it just a walk in the park? Is it as simple as ABC, do re mi, and all that? What are the steps? Why is it so complicated? In quotes.
Oh well, if you use the word complicated, it makes it sound a bit strange to me. But in any case, I think we can segment the treatment of the IVF treatment cycle into stages.
Okay.
And I would say that the first stage will be the stage of growing the eggs. Stage of growing the eggs. You administer some medications to make a woman hyper-ovulate.
Wow.
In the natural cycle, a woman just ovulates one egg. Okay. But in an IVF treatment cycle, you want hyper-ovulation. You want controlled super-ovulation, where a woman produces so many eggs, between 5 to 10 eggs. That's moderate enough. Yeah. So the first stage is the super-ovulation stage, when you give medication, controlled doses of medication to make a woman recruit and grow a good number of eggs, between 5 to 10. Wow. It could be less than that, depending on the number of eggs that the woman has left in her, the ovarian reserve, or it could be more than that for those who have tendency of responding excessively to medication. So that's the first step in the IVF treatment cycle. Okay. But before this step, of course, it's good to mention that there's a stage where you control the ovarian activities so that it's just quiet, it doesn't produce eggs, it doesn't grow eggs. We call the stage desensitization stage, pituitary desensitization, or downregulation. You give some medications where everything stays quiet before you give another set of medication to make the woman grow eggs. So when the eggs have grown to the stage of maturity, and from our regular measurement between 17 to 18 or 18 to 20 millimeters in diameter, a woman goes to another stage where we call the trigger stage. At this stage, you give a single injection that makes the eggs mature and ready for retrieval. So the next stage after this is a theater procedure, where this woman is taken to the theater and an oocyte or egg retrieval procedure is done. It's a very minor procedure. It's done under ultrasound guide most cases, and it's a very short procedure often. It's not like the major surgery where you spend a lot of time. Usually the duration for this procedure should be between 3 to 10 minutes. Yeah, and most cases between 3 to 10 minutes. After the egg retrieval stages, you have the fertilization stage. Either the embryologist will determine or will decide, or it may have been pre-decided before that time whether it's going to be conventional IVF, where the eggs are mixed with the sperm in a petri dish, or an ICSI, that's intracytoplasmic sperm injection procedure, where a single egg is injected into the sperm, single sperm injected into a single egg. That's the ICSI procedure. So you have this stage is called the fertilization stage. After the fertilization stage, you have the culturing stage. The product of fertilization, which is a zygote or embryo, are cultured for a period of time.
When you say culture, what do you mean?
Yeah, they're placed in the incubator. They're kept in the incubator for
like they're monitored.
In the incubator for to see them develop, to break into tiny fragments, into what we call the cleavage stage, and you watch the development. So after the cleavage stage, growth stage, and all that, you get to the, should I say the last stage, which is the stage of the embryo transfer itself.
So
this time around, the embryos are monitored, the embryos are selected based on their qualities and grade, and the ones that seem to be doing okay are now transferred into the mother's uterus, and then pregnancy occurs there and becomes the same as every other pregnancy. By this I mean the same as the spontaneously conceived pregnancies. So these are just the stages involved. Yeah, we have close to 4 to 5 stages.
Yeah.
The controlled ovulation medication stage, then the trigger stage, then the egg retriever stage, the fertilization stage, the culturing stage, then the embryo transfer. So these are the stages. And all this happens seamlessly. But when you decide to fragment them and stage them the way I just mentioned, it makes it look a bit cumbersome.
Very true.
But then it's just a seamless process. And before you know it, you're done with it.
And so all these stages you've said now happens between 2 to 6 weeks, depending on who is involved.
Sure. Within 2 to 6 weeks, yes, depending on what kind of protocol is used in the treatment process. And so these are just the stages involved in IVF treatment cycle. Well, you may decide to add the luteal stage. This is a stage actually where you give some medications to support the pregnancy for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, you give that medication because the body doesn't produce those nutrients or hormones or chemicals to sustain pregnancy at that stage. So you may need to give exogenously external support to the pregnancy.
You must have determined that before doing the transfer.
Yeah, it's usually the conventional process of IVF. Yes, the process whereby the eggs are retrieved doesn't permit a healthy production of those hormones because of the interference with the spontaneous process that should go on. So you have to supply those hormones or nutrients exogenously, from
and you do that for every other woman.
So you do that for every woman, whether she's taking egg donation or using her own eggs. So until the pregnancy is fully established, for some between 6 to 8 weeks, for some 10 weeks, for some 12 weeks before all those supports or medications are stopped. So in a nutshell, these are the stages involved in an IVF treatment cycle.
Not as complicated as we thought it was. Yes or no? For me, it's a yes. And so at this point in time, we have actually understood what it means to go through IVF, the stages involved, the duration. And so if you think you need help, please get help. Send your questions, your comments, and we'll be here. It's still Ask Dr. Ken, and we'll see you next episode.